Hey guys, welcome back. So now, after reading Peter David's Maestro, War Impacts issue 3, I'm starting to understand why Maestro got worse. Because man, this issue right here, this right here, we gotta talk about this. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so in our last talk, we had seen how Dr. Doom had went to the Pantheon, warning them of the threat of Maestro and also soliciting their assistance in dealing with this threat within this timeline that Doom has entered. And although the execution of their plan was kinda shaky, because that moment where Ajax spilled the beans, I thought it was a wrap. But even with their turbulence within the execution of said plan, they still pulled it off. But one of the things that they didn't account for was even with Maestro in his sleep state, he was still in his hulked out form. But for us as the reader, this is something we kind of knew was coming because we'd seen him like this in the previous series, Maestro 2020, when MODOK was keeping him at the AIM facility and Banner was hulked out within his stasis. But even with that, there is the possibility that he could have gone back and forth between Hulk and Banner within stasis throughout the course of that 100 years. But even if that's the case, AIM had fitted his stasis pod to hold the Hulk and he still got out. But then fast forward to now with the Pantheon bringing Maestro back to their new mountain location, they had expected Maestro to turn back into Banner. Because even when Lanta had asked Maestro how did he escape AIM, he didn't tell her. He was just when he's ready to leave somewhere, he'll leave. So this definitely brought them some concern, but then also a bit of urgency what do we do now? And even Hector makes the suggestion to keep Maestro like this indefinitely, but that in itself presents a problem because they don't want this mound to blow up like the last one in the event that Maestro wakes up, let alone being caught in the blast and killed in the process. And this then leads Ulysses to suggest that they go inside of his mind and find a way to turn him back into Banner so they can kill him, which immediately just has me thinking I don't know about that, Chief. But then Delphi is just kind of okay, I'll get him to do it, I'll talk to him. And the him that she's referring to is fellow member of the Pantheon, Paris, aka Nathan Taylor. And in his case, his powers are immortality like the others, well at least to the extent of living long, but also like the others to where everyone has their one special gift. In his case, he's an empath, which essentially allows him to reach out and get a reading on others. But at this current state far into the future, Nathan's empathic abilities, they've evolved allowing him to communicate, which then make him an entry-level telepath. But also with Delphi reaching out to Paris to go into Maestro's mind, she's approaching him to ask him to do this because she knows for a long time that he's had feelings for her. And it's because of that when she goes to approach Paris, she finds him in the pool, she sweet talks him, she gives him a kiss, and she easily convinces him to do it. And I mean there was a brief moment to where Paris was well Delphi, why can't you do it? You have telepathy now too. But she told him that she didn't want to do it because it felt too invasive. But at the end of the day, she sweet talked him and manipulated him and he fell for it. And while Lanta's hooking him up to the machine, he's just I hate this so much. But so now with reluctantly doing this, Paris then enters the mind of Maestro. And when he does, he calls Maestro Dr. Banner. And at first, Maestro doesn't respond, but when he eventually does respond, he tells Paris that I'm not Banner, I'm Maestro. And with doing this, Maestro's early establishing the whole mind trick thing, I've been there, done that. And in the case of Maestro, with the way that he was manipulated like this for so long, the tactic within itself is offensive to him. But even with this happening, Paris tries to start him off easy and he brings him somewhere that he's familiar with making it seem like he's at the old mountain location, which is where Maestro had joined the Pantheon back when he was Professor Hulk, and he was shown how destructive he was in his previous years as the Hulk, which was kind of the method at the time to get him to join. And Paris uses a very similar tactic to what Agamemnon had used years ago. But even though Maestro knows that this is all fake, he still entertains the conversation that Nathan's bringing him. But then it's here where he brings Maestro into a room that seems very much like the same room that he was brought into when he was Professor Hulk, and he tells Maestro that back at the time when the Pantheon had expressed interest in him because he had merged personalities, Paris now tells Maestro that this was a lie. And the truth that they want Maestro to know now is that they've been watching him for much longer than that. And it's here where Paris shows Maestro on the screen the moment where his mother tried to leave with him as a child and his father killed her. which was a vision that was perceived through Delphi's mother, Andromeda. And for the record, the vision just seems way crazier than what I remember. But any way you look at it, it's still murder. And Maestro is triggered to the 10th power when he sees this. And frankly, like, he could care less about the story of the vision which Andromeda had seen in whatever narrative it was that Paris was trying to express here. Because to Maestro, it just seems like these guys are trying to play some kind of sick game with his mind. And because of that, Maestro smashes the screen and he chokes the Warren Pax out of Paris. And immediately when this happens, Lanta, she's going off. She's like, disconnect the feed, hurry up, get him out of there. But before you know it, it's not even an issue anymore because Maestro, he just disconnected the man from life. So in that case, it's like problem solved because he's out of there. But then right after that, Maestro's eyes then open and Lanta immediately calls for the others, telling them that Banner's awake, which triggers him even more because they keep calling him Banner. And I mean, like, the man just wants you to acknowledge the new name, that's all. And I mean, like, aside from that, he wants you to live under his new world order. But I mean, it's not really a long list of requests, just a couple things that he asked for, that's all. But then as soon as Maestro breaks out, Ulysses, he jumps in, he tells Lanta to fall back, and he cuts off Maestro's hand. But it isn't an issue for long because, for one, Maestro has another hand, and Ulysses saw the back of it up close like very soon after. But also with this happening, Maestro, he then goes over and picks up his right hand and he just puts it right back on. But also in this moment, Maestro notices that Ulysses' sword, it's stronger in this moment than what he remembers. Which for Maestro, that must mean that Ulysses has made improvements to it over the years. And if that's the case, like if it can go through a Hulk, then it can go through Ulysses like a hot knife through butter. And it pretty much does. And right after, Lanta lets off on Maestro with her plasma bow, but it does little to nothing and he keeps charging at her. But just before Maestro can get to Lanta, Ajax shows up. And Maestro, he even lets Ajax know, like, he feels sorry for Ajax the most. And it really just comes from Ajax being like the big dumb brute. And Maestro can relate to that because he was that guy at one point. But also with Ajax stepping in here to protect Lanta, like we've talked about on this playlist before, like how protective Ajax is of Lanta. And Maestro has seen and known that for years. And because of that, it is here where Maestro breaks the savage meter and he lifts up Ajax, throws him directly at Lanta and crushes her. And it's like, yo, the physical and mental devastation here. Like, it really feels like a part of Ajax just died on the inside right now. But then immediately after this, we then get the appearance of Rebecca Banner, Bruce's mother, who just shows up fresh after Bruce's killing spree. And when she does, she just witnesses in devastation all that Bruce has become. And initially, Maestro doesn't believe it because he knows that his mother's dead, but that doesn't change the fact that he would never want his mother to see him become this monster of sorts so similar to his father. And with him seeing his mother in tears, he turns back into Banner, and then he's immediately shot multiple times by his mother. And it's here where we quickly realize that this entire time that this whole thing was part of the plan. Maestro had never broke out, and none of the members of the Pantheon were harmed in the production of this illusion, if you will. But then also, like, at no point did Maestro truly break through the influence that Paris had created, but instead he was in containment the entire time, and as soon as Maestro turned back into Banner, Paris clapped him. But even with this being the case, the Pantheon, they know that Bruce, his immortality is set up a little bit different, and because he is immortal, now they had to find the next step to figure out how to make his death permanent, which I'm very much looking forward to, and mainly because I'm hoping to see some Immortal Hulk-like references when they attempt to pull this off. But then also, like, this was pretty much what I was referring to with like what appears to be like the slow buildup of the Maestro becoming worse and worse, which initially we saw through his friends attacking him and attempting to kill him, which definitely is what we got here again. But in this case, I didn't call it a hunch, but I think it hit a little deeper this time. And as a result, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Maestro that came back a little harder than what we had seen before. And I'm talking about like with some make your dreams come true type energy. Oh, and before I forget, like, okay, since this whole thing was like an illusion, like one thing I can't help but think is that if this all wasn't real, one, was the Pantheon able to watch this play out like on the big screen? And if they did Ajax see this part? Because if Ajax had to watch that, I highly suggest that somebody go check on that guy. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also let me know, like, if Maestro had a Spotify playlist, like what would be the first song playing when he comes back? Like, hit me up in the comments and let me know. But that's it for now. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Alright, later.